Deep Shot Podcast, Season 4, Episode 40, Peyton Hillis.
Never forget the infamous cover of Madden one time, and by the way, disappeared off the face of the earth as soon as that Madden cover was out.
Do you remember how he won that Madden cover, too? It was a
I do
vote.
not.
It was a vote. I remember back in the day when I don't know if they've ever done this since, but they basically did like a bracket, and each team got one player to put up, and it did a bracket style, like fans voted on the cover. And I remember it was him versus Cam Newton, if I'm correct, for the cover, and Peyton Hillis won.
How does that even happen, man? I guess like just the fact that he was the only person on the Browns that was worthy of even being on the cover, and he was probably like the least deserving out of the entire NFL.
He was Scatterbo before Cam Scatterbo.
He was.
Well, welcome to another episode. Merry Christmas to all. I just wanted to get on here. Jake's doing some Christmas activity. Usually I would come on here and dog him for missing. I'm not going to do that today. He's it's a tough time of the year. It's a tough time of the year. So just wanted to get on here. We've got some NFL Christmas games preview week 17. Want to talk about that a little bit. Before we do that, I want to talk about a hiring in college football that I thought was pretty interesting. Catch up on some transfer portal stuff. Before that, just make sure you follow on Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to the YouTube. We appreciate all the support. So let's get into it now. The first thing I want to talk about is some recent news coming out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Bill Belichick has decided to hire Bobby Petrino as his offensive coordinator. Now, I would assume most people who listen to this podcast or are in the weeds of football in general know who Bobby Petrino is. If you don't, just to catch you up, this year he was the interim head coach at Arkansas. All right, so he didn't win a game, by the way. They fired Sam Pittman. He was the interim head coach. He was the offensive coordinator last year, and obviously kind of this year coming into it. He was the head coach at Arkansas. Got into this huge scandal for falling off a motorcycle, having a mistress. Before then, if you listen to one of our first episodes of the season, he was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons for one season. And left like abruptly after a Monday Night Football game. Keith Brooking, obviously not a fan. I'm sure not a lot of Falcons fans are either. A couple other things he was Texas A&M coordinator the last year. Jimbo Fisher was there. Guy's coached football for a long time. Was the Louisville head coach, I believe, at one point. So he's been around the block. People know about him. Now, the offensive coordinator who was in place at North Carolina was Freddie Kitchens, who was a former Browns head coach for like a season and was actually the offensive coordinator there last year. And then I guess, or was quarterback coach last year, was retained by Bill Belichick. So anyway, they're bringing in Bobby Petrino now, who you could say ran a solid offense there at Arkansas. Taylor Green had a great year. I don't think Arkansas was losing games because of Taylor Green and the offense this year, but for Bill Belichick, with all of this scandal he already has going on in his life, he goes, let me bring in this guy who brings even more of attention. And, you know, it's all in the past a little bit, but it's still a scandalous name, if you want to say. Just interesting concept they've got going on in Chapel Hill now. Not to mention he's like 64, 65 years old. I mean, they've got a retirement home out there in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting choice for sure. I figured Bill, as loud as it's been in North Carolina so far, would opt for something maybe a little quieter. Like when I first saw this, I was like, this is, I mean, I may have cracked a joke in the group chat, and it may have involved Sharon Moore being involved in this coaching staff in the future. Maybe it's too soon. Maybe it's a little too late to be making jokes with that guy. Yeah, it just seems odd. You got an already somewhat weird situation with the head coach and his girlfriend. We've already seen what Petrino is capable of in that department. And yeah, you're right. Like whatever the guy's been, it has not looked terrible. You talking about Arkansas offense. Yeah, I mean, they were not the reason why they went 2-10 this year. Now, I was the guy on this podcast saying I think Bobby's going to win a game at some point or another this year. It never happened, by the way. It never happened. So he's stuck in North Carolina for the time being, but just seems like Bill's reaching for straws at this point. I'm shocked North Carolina, with all this shit they've had to deal with this year, would allow him to make this hire and approve it.
Think about the coaching staff there. It is Bill Belichick, and then Bill Belichick's son as a defensive coordinator, and Bobby Petrino.
That's an odd cast of characters.
I mean, I think Bill Belichick is just hoping Josh McDaniels had a rough year in New England or something at this point because he needs help. I would assume they're probably friends, Bobby and Bill.
Yeah, there's some kind of connection somewhere or another. I mean, I'm trying to look around and see, like, maybe they bumped into each other a time or two. I think this is probably just a situation where Bill respected him from afar a long time ago. He probably saw him his days, not in Atlanta, but his days at Louisville and then at Arkansas and the things that he did in the NFL before that because he was with the Jags for a couple of years. So yeah, Different perspective than what I got. I don't think Petrino's going to have a Taylon Green going to North Carolina to play for him. So, to expect him to get the same results out of Gio Lopez or whoever the hell ends up playing quarterback in Chapel Hill next year, I'm it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it can't get worse.
Yeah, you would hope not. You would really hope not. So just want to talk about that for a second. Also want to catch up on a little bit of the transfer portal. Obviously, this thing is changing daily. It'll probably change by the time this is posted. But just a couple other names since the last time we talked about it. Chaz Coleman, edge player at Penn State. Obviously, we all know what happened in Penn State this year, so he's in the transfer portal. He was a four-star player. Looks like he's going to be going to Ohio State. That's what I'm hearing in the rumors, which, godly. You think about the transfer rules back in the day, and obviously it's way different, but like I believe you couldn't even transfer in conference back in the day, or if you did, maybe it was a bigger penalty than already having to sit out.
Well, some conferences had their own like rules that you couldn't. Like I'm pretty sure the SEC, like you said, like you literally could not transfer within the conference unless you had like a hardship waiver.
And the thing about like Chaz Coleman, who I mentioned, he's from Ohio, so Ohio State looks likely. Think about ETN going from Florida to Georgia last year. It's obviously a different time, but the amount of guys going to rivals of schools, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's clear as day that, like alliance to a school or like growing up, I want to be a Penn State Nittany Lion. Like as soon as Ohio State flashes a couple $1,000,000 in front of your face, just like, yeah, okay, well, that was yesterday. This is today. And look, I hate it for them. I really think it's kind of a little bit of a conflict of interest with it. You're talking about in the conferences jumping like player to player. Like, what if Caleb Downs was to leave Ohio State and go to Michigan? This is kind of like the same ballpark we're talking. Or let's say, I don't know, let's say Zachariah Branch transferred again and went to Bama, which would be crazy as hell. But like, you're talking in the same stratosphere to bring it home a little bit for us Georgia fans or Southeastern Conference fans. It's just a little odd. I think that Chaz Coleman needs to take a better look at maybe not going to Ohio State. Don't join the bad guys. Maybe go to Virginia Tech with your old head coach.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Bo Pribula, the quarterback for Missouri, he's in the portal now. Now, it looks like Virginia Tech could be a heavy favorite there, obviously, because of what you just said. His old head coach is there. Byron Brown, the South Florida quarterback, looks like he'll be heading to Auburn. So those are just a couple developing movements in the portal. This thing obviously is day by day getting crazier and crazier. Rocco Beck, the quarterback for Iowa State, now in the portal, looks like he'll be following Matt Campbell to Penn State, you would assume. This is just a norm. You got to follow the quarterback follows the coach.
Yeah, especially when it's an upgrade situation. Like Byron Brown's probably about to make an extra $1.5–2 million this year, but just by following his coach to Auburn and pulling that move off. Kind of surprised that Bo Pribula jumping in the portal. I mean, I understand that James Franklin's like at a new spot and it's a fresh start and all this and that, but I thought that Pribula had pretty good success this year with Missouri. Missouri also re-signed Ahmad Hardy back too. So, I mean, I was kind of shocked to see that he would get away from that partnership because it seemed to be more productive for him than it would be for Ahmad Hardy in my book. And hey, shout out your team, Kennesaw. I don't know if you saw this, but they are losing their quarterback. He's going in the portal.
Yes, I did see that, which, just this is the problem. These G5 teams. And also I want to talk about this real quick. I've been in a lot of arguments with G5 Twitter the last couple days, and which I didn't even know existed, to be completely honest. I didn't know there was such a heavy G5 existence on Twitter. But one of the arguments I see is like, well, these Power 4 programs, they come and pluck the G5 players. So obviously the G5 players and coaches, they're good enough. And I'm like, okay, yes, what you're saying, it has some merit. But also nobody in these because of what you're saying, nobody in these G5 programs wants to stay at a G5 program. The coaches don't want to stay. The players don't want to stay. Like, there's no, let's run it. James Madison, we had a great year this season. Let's run it back. No, that's not how it works.
No, and you can catch lightning in a bottle maybe once at schools like that. Like James Madison maybe has the potential to be successful over a long run, but it's not going to be like playoff or bust every year from here on out. No, you want to go try and play with the big dogs. You also want to get, as a player, tape against other good players so that whenever your evaluation for the draft comes up, people aren't questioning whether or not he's just doing this at a little level. So I think there's that and the money aspect. It cannot be denied.
Yeah, no. And then like another way to put it is like, yes, the G5 players are good. So are high school football players. And the big colleges go and get them too. That doesn't mean all of a sudden we should put high school teams in the college football playoff.
That's right. And those G5 guys, like whenever teams go and scoop those guys up, it's really just because one, they already have a hole in their team that they didn't fill with them when they were in the recruiting cycle. And two, a lot of them won't experience. Like high school players are great. I think we should, most of your good programs are running off high school kids. In fact, I think I was reading something the other day. Ohio State's like 70% of their starters are recruits from high school. They've been doing it right. They just plug a couple transfers in. The other programs in the world, when you go and see somebody that can play ball at the G5 level and it translates, it's easier for you to go and get that kid and plug and play and save your job for a year than it is to go and stick it out with the high school kids. So you're not going to be able to blame anybody. Sorry about it. Maybe if you're G5, like, upgrade. Did you not just see what like UCF did a couple years ago, or like Cincinnati, like all these other schools that were G5 at a time?
And then what did they do? They left.
They went to the big dog leagues.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works. Okay, let's move over. Let's talk about the NFL Week 17. We got some Christmas Day games now. If you looked back at week 1 and you saw this slate of games, you probably thought, "Wow, we got some bangers coming up on Christmas Day." Netflix has got themselves a hit. None of them are good games anymore. Netflix and Prime Video, I mean, I'm sure people are still going to watch the NFL. I know it's, the most famous thing out there, but just look, the 3 games we have: Cowboys, Commanders, Lions, Vikings, Broncos, Chiefs. The most expensive ticket, or not the most expensive ticket, but the tickets to get in, 57, 76, 41 for a Christmas Day game in an NFL stadium. Seems
crazy that Chiefs game is $41. All it took was like 2 ACL tears, and their team is just like not even worth $1 anymore.
Losing to the Titans by $1 billion. So let's start with Cowboys Commanders real quick. This is a nothing game pretty much, like most of these are. But the Cowboys are eliminated from the playoffs. They have no chance of getting in. I would assume everyone's still going to play out. You don't see opt-outs in the NFL when the teams are eliminated from playoffs. The spread right now is -7, or Dallas is -7-point favorite. They opened up at a -3-point favorite, so this thing is considerably shifted. I'm just hoping that the Cowboys, in terms of entertainment value and what we want to see on Christmas Day, that their offense comes to play. They're playing against one of the oldest, I think the oldest defense in the NFL, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And if you just, we're in week 17, so to talk about these teams and where they came from, really disappointing season for Washington. Obviously, they've won like 4 games this year, and 2 of them are against the Giants, one's against the Raiders, one's against like the Chargers. So they have not been able to put it together. Obviously, Jaden Daniels getting hurt. That's not what you want to see. Kind of flashbacks to, maybe the RG3 days, of having the best quarterback as a rookie, and then things kind of going south. But in terms of this game, I just hope that the offenses will give us something, because both these defenses are pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, shocked to see Dan Quinn. I know it was like yesteryear, really was last year, that they were in the NFC Championship game, but kind of surprised he still has a job, to be honest with you. I mean, you say whatever you want to. When you go you're tracking at 4-13, and I know your quarterback's been hurt and all that other stuff. Like, if they get embarrassed on Thursday, I'd keep an eye on the phone. Keep an eye on your alerts on ESPN. See what's going on. But yeah, you're right. We got to see some flash for sure out of these two this game. Whoever plays quarterback for the Commanders, good luck. Get the ball to Deebo Samuel if you can. And for the Cowboys, I mean, they've still got Pickens and CeeDee Lamb ready to roll. Those guys can put up points any given week, so they need to step on it a little bit. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but like the Cowboys, and we're going to talk about the Lions in a second too, but they haven't been with their families on Thanksgiving or Christmas this year. They're not going to get the opportunity. They played on both days. I think that's pretty unfair.
The price you pay for being America's team. Josh Johnson, that's the guy that played for like 1 million teams, I believe.
Yeah, former Bucs starting quarterback. Man, he's been in the league for a long time.
Yeah, I think he's the guy that came in and played for the 49ers that one game in the NFC Championship.
He did.
Let me see. What's the projection here for the starting quarterback here for the...
I can tell you it's not Jane Daniels, but it don't matter no more for me because I'm out on fantasy season. I'm done on that front with that team. RIP Division I.
Yeah, so Josh Johnson is expected to start. So, 4:30 game. Lions are playing the Vikings. This one's got a little bit more juice because the Lions are still alive in the playoff race. It's very slim, but they are. And the Lions offensively are not the reason they're not in the playoffs. I mean, tough season, and we talked about it. Very disappointing for them to be 8-7, and looks like they're not going to make the playoffs. But Jared Goff has thrown for 4,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Jameer Gibbs has obviously scored a lot of touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown obviously has been great. The Vikings have been a little bit better over the last couple of weeks. They've got a few couple wins. They're sitting at 7-8, so have a chance to get a winning record. They don't really have a chance to go to the playoffs at all, though. I'll say this for J.J. McCarthy, the whole situation we've had this season with him, man, he's got to get it right next year, because let me pull up. I would love to see how many receiving yards Justin Jefferson has, because it cannot be a lot. Let me see it. Justin Jefferson has, okay, so it's actually a little bit more than I thought. He has 917 receiving yards, but
That's still way low for him.
yeah,
That's still way low.
And so he only has 2 touchdowns. I would assume next year going into it, like J.J. McCarthy's got to figure it out, because we can't be having Justin Jefferson barely eclipse 1,000, only scoring 2 touchdowns in another NFL season. Or I would assume the diva-ness is going to come out in the wide receiver form for Justin Jefferson. Maybe he hasn't shown it yet. Maybe he's better than that. Who knows? But the Vikings have got to get it together, and the Lions, I mean, they have to win.
Yeah, there's no more questions to be asked about their season. They've got to come out, not only win, they got to run the football a little bit better than what they did last week. I think they ran for like 20 yards last week in their competition. So, look, Dan Campbell, shockingly, even though this guy's like a tight end offensive line guy, has got Jared Goff spinning the ball very, very well this year. Talk about 32 touchdowns, 5 picks. That's a pretty solid stat line for an NFL quarterback nowadays. You're not going to see many better than that. But the wins have not came with it. And the defensively, they haven't been they're really about the same unit as they were last year. They just ain't been outscoring people nearly as much. And yeah, there's something on the line for them to win for. J.J. McCarthy is a quarterback that we've seen be down at certain points during the year. I don't know if Minnesota is mathematically eliminated, but I assume they're not, since they're only 1 game back. If they win
No,
this,
they
they'll
are.
be.
They're done.
Oh, really? Okay. So listen, just like we've said before, these NFL guys, they ain't no opt-outs, okay? They have to go in there, show good tape. A lot of these GMs and stuff, when they're coming back next year during free agency and re-signing people, they're going to be looking at the last 2 game tapes to be like, how did you play when your team was out of it? Because that kind of like is just as important as playing whenever you are on Monday Night Football in Week 17 to go be the number 1 seed. So got to play ball. And again, unfortunate they don't get to have Christmas with their family. The Detroit Lions don't, because they've had to do this twice already.
Yeah, and another team that's had to do that twice is the Kansas City Chiefs, because they're going to play on Christmas night. So maybe they'll get the morning with their family at least. But the Broncos are coming into town. Obviously, the Broncos lost to the Jags last week, so they need to win this game to hold control of that AFC 1 seed. They still have it in their pocket right now, but they have to win, which they're a 13.5-point favorite. So I think they're going to win. If you don't know, the Chiefs quarterback is going to be Chris Oladuncan is going to be the quarterback. He came in last week after Gardner Minshew tore his ACL. This one, it's just like when you think about, again, week 1, or you could have said it week 10, like you were thinking, wow, Broncos Chiefs Christmas night. That's going to be something to watch. And it means a little something to the Broncos because they have to win. But for the Chiefs, it's like, can this season be over quicker? I mean, it is just not gone the way they wanted. And it's one thing to not make the playoffs, to lose Patrick Mahomes in the process to a ACL. Tough spot the Chiefs are in.
And also, too, it's kind of a weird situation for them because, like you said, not only were they've lost their quarterback, they were like that game that they lost him in and it was coming down to the end. That was for them to go to the playoffs. So they kind of like lost all wind out of themselves in about a 15-minute span of an NFL game like 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, obviously they're going to try and show out Arrowhead fans. I hope they show up, even though their team's not in the Super Bowl for the first time, like, I don't know, 5 years or whatever the crazy stat it is. I know they've been in the AFC Championship game like at least since
I think they've been in every
18 or
AFC
19.
championship. They went to 3 straight Super Bowl, 4 of the last 5.
So, look, the Broncos, in my own interest, I want them to lose this game. I need Ola Duncan to go off. I need him to have a coming out party because there's a little chatter on this podcast last time we spoke to you guys about whether or not the New England Patriots were frauds or not. And by the way, their fraud test, they passed it flying colors, so they're nice. Got the dub back in kind of the race for the AFC number 1 seed, fully in control of the AFC East as long as they went out. So for my own personal interest, I want to see a Chiefs upset here. I highly doubt it's
going to. Yeah, no, that would be far-fetched to see. I mean, congrats. Drake May threw for over 300 yards, got that monkey off his back. That's got to feel good. That's got to
Yeah, and
feel
did
good.
it to the tune of 380 that night too, and we forced a
Mhm.
couple fumbles. Derrick Henry, biggest comeback since that game in 2017 in the Super Bowl, if you guys remember that.
Mm.
Yeah, haven't had that big of a comeback since then, and to be able to pull off the dub. I mean, we were down like 11 points with 4 minutes left and somehow won that game. It was crazy.
Great team, great team. Good. It's crazy. The Patriots are right back where they left off just for the whole Brady Belichick era ended. It's nice when Mike Vrabel's just sitting around. No one hires him.
Same.
Sitting there
Insane
with
we didn't
Raheem
hire him the
Morris.
first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Falcons are just sitting there, in the same boat as they were 5 years ago, and they went through like 4 quarterbacks.
Okay, let's move over to Saturday. We got some good games here. Texans are playing the Chargers. This game was in the AFC wild card last year. This one's going to be in LA instead of at Houston this time. LA right now is -2.5. Over under at 39.5. Two really good defenses in the NFL. Two really hot teams. Chargers are 11-4. Texans are 10-5. Texans. Both these teams really, need some things to go their way so they can win their division. But I believe the Chargers last night clinched a playoff spot with the Colts loss, which, by the way, Phillip Rivers, I mean, was that not incredible?
It was incredible just to hear him play football like that, and I'm talking about the hearing part for real, like, he was up there just duking people out, fake hand signals, found it funny at one point at the end of the game, or, like, maybe it was right before halftime, which if you did not watch the game, by the way,
Mhm.
hell of a game for the first half, like, the offense is going back and forth, was just something else, but, I mean, he missed, like, a wide open corner route that was, like, a 15-yard throw, and he threw it, like, 5 yards short, and I'm like, "Man, all the
He was
stuff he's
throwing the
doing."
ball. I mean, it looked like that was a wild motion he had going on. It
Yeah,
was,
he's always had a weird one, but it just looks even worse whenever he's, like, 44 years old, probably hasn't done much more than ride bikes the last couple years. I mean, he just definitely looks a little on the stiff side,
yeah, no doubt. So
but he's playing good football.
he was, and I hope they let him finish it out. So the Texans have won 7 in a row. The Chargers have won 4 in a row. Obviously, like I said, it's been on their defense. They have played really good ball. Both these quarterbacks, obviously the Texans were winning even without C.J. Stroud, but now that he's back, he's playing better. Herbert's been playing better. The hands getting better. This one kind of feels like a toss up to me. What about you?
Yeah, it's definitely, be a challenge for them to win this game. I think the Texans, if I'm not mistaken, have not clinched anything, and they're kind of sitting there giving the Colts a tad bit of life, and the Ravens as well. But a huge opportunity for them to show their defense can play very, very well at the end of the season, especially rolling into the playoffs. They're going to be playing a road game at some point or another. Assume the Jags are going to win the AFC South, so they're not going to be able to host any playoff games. And with that, I mean, I think they're capable of doing it. But going to be interested to see if they can get on Justin Herbert a little bit. If the physical starts breaking down on his hand, does it affect his ability to play? Because, really didn't put too much pressure on him last week, and he played very well and was able to get the ball downfield. Quentin Johnson, which I need that for my fantasy team again this week, by the way. Justin, if you're listening to this, okay. Yeah, looks like a toss-up to me. I think it's if it was a neutral site, I think the Texans would be favored by 0.5 point, which you might as well say it's a pick 'em. I like the Texans in this one personally.
Let's move over to the Saturday night game. The Ravens are playing the Packers. Jordan Love status as of now uncertain. Obviously, was in concussion protocol. Didn't finish the Bears game last week. Malik Willis has some experience with even playing with the Packers. I believe last year he played a couple games, started a couple games, won a couple games. Ravens obviously coming off the 17-point blow to was it 17 points was the lead that they blew? 17-point lead they blew to the Patriots, which just seems like something they do on a regular basis. I think it's just called ravening now. Right now the Packers are -2.5. Ravens, their playoff lives are on life alert right now. I saw where they're like in that game against the Patriots, Derrick Henry had like over 120 yards and he didn't get a touch for the last like 12 minutes of the game. So I assume they need to not do that again. They need to give Derrick Henry the ball to win this game. Lamar obviously hurt too. Actually, he got hurt in the Patriots game as well.
He went out pretty early in the right before halftime with some kind of back injury, which if you saw how the injury happened, I didn't really understand what the deal was, and I haven't followed up on Lamar whatsoever, so because I was just worried about DeForest Buckner's level of play last night.
So he's highly questionable to play. So I would assume maybe that spread is just talking with
Both
both
quarterbacks being
being
out.
out.
If that is the case, advantage Packers, I think. I
Mhm.
think Malik Willis plays a little bit better with the team that surrounded him than what Tyler Huntley showed the other night, because Huntley I don't know what they were thinking if they wasn't going to give Derrick Henry the ball in that game. They were still just going to let Huntley spin it around and run the ball. I mean, I just thought that was insane, but that's what they decided to do. And they did, in their defense, give Derrick Henry the ball in like the third quarter and he fumbled. He's had an issue with that a little bit this year. Cannot have that happen this week. It's going to be cold out, but if they're going to win a game like this, they need to be able to be physical and hand the football off.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That'll be I mean, it should be a fun. That's another one that's like these Christmas Day games where you're like, oh, that's going to be awesome. And now we're in these situations where we got backup quarterbacks playing. At least both teams are still kind of alive, so you know there's going to be some fight. That'll be a fun one. Tickets as low as $134 there, so Lambeau's still got some juice. Okay, on Sunday, kind of some snoozers. Just want to let me see if you can guess the lowest ticket on Sunday.
Is it the Titans Saints game?
Titans Saints low as $41. No, it is the Cardinals and Bengals low as 11.
Man, is it in Cincinnati?
Yes.
Man, somehow the Cardinals have been involved in a
They
lot of cheap games this year.
they're not
$11 to
they're
go to the
not
NFL game?
they're not.
Also seeing the Jets-Patriots game pretty cheap. Might have to see if I can't make my way up there.
That'd be a fun one to go to. Okay, but a lot of snoozers. Like I said, the Cardinals, Bengals, Steelers are playing the Browns. They obviously, I think they win that. They'll probably win the AFC North. Let me see. Do they play the Ravens at the end of the season here? Yes, they do. So I would assume that as the Ravens win, the Steelers win, then that will probably that last week's going to come down to it. Saints play the Titans in a nothing game. Jags play the Colts. That one's got some juice. Colts are still somehow alive in the playoff race. Very slim. They're 3 games back from the Jags, so they're not winning the AFC South with 2 games left. But they win that. Maybe the Texans lose. Then they'll have some life going into the last week of the season. Bucks playing the Dolphins. Bucks obviously need to win that game. You would hope they can win against Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson, whoever the Dolphins run out there. Patriots obviously playing the Jets. Seahawks playing the Panthers. That's kind of got some juice to it. Panthers obviously need to win. And if the Bucks lose, they'll be going to the playoffs as the NFC South champion. If the Bucks win, and it does, I think even if both teams win, then that last game is going to have some major implication who's going to the playoffs. You think the Panthers got a chance to beat the Seahawks right now? They're 7.5-point underdogs, but they're at home.
I mean, I know it's at home. That's a long little bit of travel for Seattle, but man, after seeing what they were able to do against the Rams the other night, and that, in my opinion, is the best team in football, it's gonna be hard for me to see them lose to anybody. Just the way they played on defense and the fact they scored 38 points with ease almost on those guys.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not a really. I mean, obviously they're still fighting for the 1 seed. They know what they have to do, and I think maybe that extra rest they're going to have as well. I mean, they're going to from playing on Thursday night to having an extra 3 days off to fly across the country. I like the Seahawks in that situation too. Giants are playing the Raiders. That is a huge game for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Both teams 2-13, the 2 worst teams in the league. So you do not want to win that game.
No, and I will not be playing Jackson Dart in my fantasy league this week due to even this game being a thing. I feel like they're going to try their best to try and sell these. Expect a 3. Maybe it looks like the Miami A&M game by the end of the fourth quarter right here. 3-3.
That's good analysis. Okay, we do have some good games towards the end, though. Eagles are playing the Bills on Sunday as well. This will probably be the Tom Brady called game, if I had to assume. It is on Fox. Looks like it's going to be 32 degrees, so right at freezing down there in Buffalo. $306 to get into this game, so not a cheap ticket at all. This game last year, or was it last year or 2 years ago, was the banger of a game that they had that was like back and forth. I'm trying to remember. I think that was 2 years ago. But either way, Eagles are 10-5. Eagles have won the NFC East. Bills 11-4, trying to play catch up and stay alive for the AFC East. Bills are -1.5. Over-unders at 43.5. Both these teams have, we take it back a month ago, right? These teams kind of seem like they were a little wishy-washy. The Eagles on one hand, the offense looked like it couldn't figure it out. The Bills on the other hand, it looked like they had the quarterback, but they when they couldn't run the ball, everything was going south. Both have kind of found their way and look like legit threats. Who do you give the edge here to?
I think you got to give it to the home team. I just think they got more to play for. The Eagles, you can say they've clinched their division. Sure, that's fine. Go look at who's in their division and what the competition level's been this year. Like, it just has been up to par. This is probably the easiest year to win the NFC East in a long time. I think it would be a bigger statement win if the Eagles were able to go on the road this time of year, which kind of odd. I feel like I don't see games like this in like week 16, week 17 range very often, like cross conference, 2 really good teams, but good for us. Thank God, because they gave us a bunch of other stinkers on Thursday and Saturday before that. So I guess we deserve this one. But I expect the Buffalo Bills to come out and still run the football. Josh Allen be pretty efficient. They need to be better on defense, and that's going to be a formidable task for them this week against Saquon Barkley, who's starting to play a little better. AJ Brown's starting to play a little better. We'll see if Jalen Hurts is going to be able to quarterback sneak his way into wins right here on the road, because they're going to have to run the football a little bit, as cold as
Mhm.
it's going to be.
Yeah, Saquon's been really good the last couple of weeks too. So both teams finding their stride. That should be a fun one. Sunday night, the Bears are playing the 49ers. Now, the 49ers, they beat the Colts last night. The 49ers, if they win out their last two games, they will win the 1 seed in the NFC.
Hats off to him too. And
Mm.
I wrote a point down about 3 weeks ago about the San Francisco 49ers on this podcast, talking about, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they were like 9-4. They were like, all right, everybody kind of wrote them off at one point or other because they were so beat up, so hurt. Nobody even questioned. You look up Christian McCaffrey's like statistically the best player in football right now. Brock Purdy's playing pretty decent.
Threw 5
Uh,
touchdowns last night.
I mean, was going absolutely off, which if you perchance had a playoff game on the line in your fantasy football league and you win against McCaffrey and George Kittle last night, you had a bad night. You had a bad
Mhm.
night. So I was one of those guys, had a rough night, but yeah, they're shockingly playing at elite levels, which I don't know why I'm surprised. It's Kyle Shanahan's team. They're always going to be competitive, whether or not they're injured or not. They just play better football than other folks. And when you got McCaffrey this healthy, and I say this healthy because he really hasn't had like hardly any issues this season. I think they've done a really good job like managing his health and stuff. But all that's to be said, they got the Chicago Bears, who are red hot, coming into there with bad intentions to try and win their division because they can still smell it.
Yeah, these teams are going to be, in terms of the way they play, I think it's going to be a great, like, run the football, explosive offense, play action stuff. Like, these are two of the best teams at doing that. San Francisco has a 3-point favorite, so really that home field advantage is what's giving them there. But the Niners, I mean, they've won, 5 in a row, 6 of the last 7. But yeah, it is. But we've already talked about, I mean, for weeks, what the Bears have done. I mean, they've won like every game except for one since week 3. So they have been one of the hotter teams as well. So that should be, I mean, for all the ones that lined up roughly, on Christmas Day, Saturday, whatever, they got a hit right here on Sunday Night Football for Bears 49ers. Should be a fun one. $319 to get into that one.
Ooh.
Primetime matchup, which is always funny when they have prime time on the West Coast, which means it starts at 5 o'clock, which on a Sunday, not that big of a deal. But like, think about Thursday night, like last week, like a Thursday, 5 o'clock in Seattle, the game starts, just so us guys on the East Coast can get to bed a little earlier.
Appreciate y'all
Yeah.
for your hard work and effort and the suffering that you go through for your like 9 a.m. kicks for noon games.
Yeah, that is a concept that people here on the East Coast, I mean, I'm sure people think about it a little bit, but like the fact that everything goes on our time is very funny to me because
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago I went out to Colorado with my boy Art, shout out Art, and I think we were like watching an NBA game. It was like the finals were on. Jimmy Butler and the Heat were in the finals, and the game was supposed to be at like 8 o'clock on the East Coast, which means like 8:30 really, because it's not going to start. But dude, we had already ate dinner, and like it's like 9 o'clock, and the game's off, and I'm like, all right, what's next? Like, it is pretty cool. And then in the mornings, like game day starts like 6 a.m.
no, that is wild. Like I'll be in Arizona for New Year's, and so I was really, I'm going to a festival out there. I was really worried for a couple months that Georgia was going to end up playing on New Year's Eve in that first game. Luckily, they're not. Like it'll be a 6 o'clock kickoff for the Ohio State a Miami game. I'll try to be tuned into that as much as I can. But like the next morning, 10 a.m. is when Oregon and Texas Tech kick off. Georgia will play like at 6 o'clock. And so that's a interesting dynamic there. Just to talk about this real quick, the Rams are going to Atlanta for Monday Night Football.
Is there anything to talk about?
I mean, let me just say this: as much credit as we give Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey hasn't even touched 2,000 all-purpose yards yet. Bijan did that like 2 weeks ago. This should be. I think this will be offensive fireworks. I really do. Like I think the way the Falcons have played offensively, that it's the last Monday night game of the year. So the Rams are obviously going to have a little bit of break. Like they're going to have like 14 days or 12, I don't know math, 11 days rest because they're going from Thursday night to Monday night across the country. I think Kirk Cousins is going to one last time in prime time put on a show.
Yeah, I might attend this game. I
Ooh.
might have to. I've never done a Monday night game. It's on my Christmas break, so like I think this would be a cool one to go see. I wouldn't mind watching Kirko. And I've seen the Rams in person once before. It's a beautiful sight to watch Sean McVay dial it up walking
Mhm.
down that sideline. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Kirk Cousins knows that this is still his audition for whatever his role is going to be with the team next year, whether it could be the Falcons, according to Jake, it could be other folks. Whatever it is, though, the offense has not been shy from scoring points here as of recent. They need to continue to give Kyle Pitts the ball. They need to continue to give Bijan Robinson as many touches as possible. Throw it to David Sills a little bit less. I don't know if you've seen this, but I'm on the side of Twitter. It's got like the EPA per route and like average yards per ran or whatever, all that other stuff. David Sills is the worst statistical wide receiver in the NFL on like yards per route and actual like efficiency per catch. It's bad. He was
Did you
like
know?
almost off the map.
Did you know David Sills won the Bolitnikoff Award? I'm pretty sure.
For who?
Hold on, I'm pulling it up. No, he was a finalist. So sorry, he did not win it, but he was a finalist in 2017 for who did he play for? He played at West Virginia. It was the year
Oh,
James.
okay. So, all right. So now I know David Sills was. David Sills caught that pass from Will Greer in Texas, right? And
Yeah,
wasn't that the same? Like,
I believe so.
well, he needs to go back to what he was doing back then because now, like, I mean, Kirk will throw him some seeds and he'll just absolutely leave him on the turf. He just
Yeah,
won't catch him.
he had 18 receiving touchdowns in that season.
Holy
Crazy,
cow.
crazy dude. He's a tall guy. That's
He's a big
all.
guy. He doesn't move very good. He does have decent hands whenever he makes like spectacular catches. Spectacular catch rating would be like 99, but his regular catch rating 70.
All right. Okay, before we get out of here, just give me a best bet you got. Just give me one.
For next week, my best bet is going to just be on the Shuck train continuing to roll. I think New Orleans is going to be able to take down the Tennessee Titans on the road. Understand that last week Tennessee had some success against a very down and out. Like can't be more down and out than Kansas City Chiefs team last week. But Tyler Shuck's been winning football games. If you have not checked in, I think that train keeps rolling this week.
All right. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys -7. I think they torch the Commanders on Christmas Day. It's gonna be fun one. I might be throwing in some CD Lamb plus Javonte Williams anytime touchdowns or something. Parlay them together. Should be a fun one. Okay, well that will wrap up episode 40. Again, Merry Christmas to you, Caleb. Merry Christmas to the fans. Appreciate everybody listening. Wanted to get in one last little episode. We'll be back, try to preview some New Year's games. Obviously, it's going to be a weird schedule and everything, but we appreciate everybody listening. Follow, subscribe. Deep shout out.